Hi everybody, welcome to Monday at 5. So today I just want to have a bit of a chat about faith. And I was reading from James where it says, "My dear brothers and sisters, what good is it if someone claims to have faith but demonstrates no good works to prove it? How could this kind of faith save anyone?" And then a bit further down it says, "Someone might object and say, one person has faith and another person has works. Go ahead then and prove to me that you have faith without works, and I will show you faith by my works as proof that I believe." So really, faith and works need to go together. Further down in this chapter, they're using an example of Abraham and how Abraham had faith in God. He believed God. God had made him promises and he believed that they were going to happen. But he had some actions that he needed to put into place. He had to leave his hometown. He had to leave where he lived and go to a place that he didn't know because God told him to. That was his work. He believed God, so he went where God told him to. Later on down the track, he had his son Isaac, and God had promised him descendants as many as the stars in the sky. He had one son. And then God told him to go and sacrifice that son. How devastating that must have been, but he believed God. It was like he said, "I believe God, so I will do what God said." And he did it. He set out to do it. God had another plan, but as he acted in faith, God showed him, actually, no, you don't need to do that. This is what I'm going to do. Further down in that same chapter, it says, "So now it's clear that a person is seen as righteous in God's eyes, not merely by faith alone, but by his works. And the same is true of the prostitute named Rahab, who was found righteous in God's eyes by her works, for she received the spies into her home and helped them escape from the city by another route." I always kind of didn't really get that. I didn't really understand why Rahab was mentioned as a woman of faith. But recently I was reading in Joshua, in the book of Joshua, and how Joshua sent 2 spies into Jericho. Rahab lived in Jericho, and the Israelites were just coming into the promised land, and God had promised this land to them. He sent spies into Jericho because Jericho was a fortressed city. It was very strong. It was going to be like, well nigh impossible to take over this city. Impossible, apparently. So he sent spies to suss out the city, see what they could do, see where the weak points were maybe, or just to find out what was going on. So these spies entered the city and they stayed at the house of Rahab. So Rahab was a woman of questionable character, and so she was a prostitute. She was used to having random guys turn up at her door. But these spies turned up and things were different, because she recognised them, or found out that they were representing the Israelites, and she'd heard of the Israelites. It actually says here, before the spies had gone to sleep, Rahab went up to the rooftop where she had hidden them and said to them, "I know that Yahweh," the name for God, "has given you this land. Everyone is absolutely terrified, and we are all paralysed with fear because of you. We've heard of the miracles that accompany you and how Yahweh dried up the waters of the Red Sea for you when you left Egypt." And she went and named all these things that she had heard about God and what God had done. So what is amazing about Rahab here is that she lives in a city that worships false gods. They worship the moon god. She was not somebody that was following Yahweh, God, at that point, and yet she'd heard, and she was starting to believe. She said, further on down the track there, she started talking about the people of the city of Jericho. She said, "We've all heard what your God has done. Our hearts have melted with fear and we're left with no courage because of you. Yahweh, your God, is the true God who rules in heaven above and on earth below. What an incredible statement. She's heard of God and she's heard of what he's done, and in her heart is growing a belief, a faith. She's not the only one. There's other people in the city that are going, this is amazing, he's scary, we don't know what we're going to do. They didn't do anything about it. They just were scared and hoped that the Israelites didn't come and attack them. Rahab, however, she could see that God was mighty. She did something about it. So what she did is she went to these two guys and she gave them, or she asked them to protect her and her family. When you come, because she knew that they were going to come, and she knew that they were going to attack, and she knew that they would overtake her city. When you come and do that, will you please save me and my family? She moved out in faith. She knew that God was mighty, so she started to take some action. They said that they would do that. They also said, if you help us get away and you don't tell anybody what we were doing here, we will do this for you. She helped them to escape. She told them where to go so that they wouldn't get found and how long to stay there. She had it all organised. And they said, when we attack your city, if you let a scarlet cord down out of your window, because her house was built in the wall, and then we'll know which house you're in and we can come and save you. So she helped them get away. And it says here in Joshua that as soon as they left, she went and tied the scarlet cord in her window. I thought that was really a real step of faith there, because she went in as soon as they had left. She went and did what she needed to do. She did not wait. She didn't say, well, okay, maybe this is going to happen. Maybe the Israelites will come and attack. And if they do, okay, I'll make a move. She was like, I am going to do everything I can to fight for this salvation, because I know that this God is great and I know that this God is powerful. And so I need to do something about it. And as she did, her faith grew and her actions continued along with that faith. Rahab ended up being saved. When the Israelites took the city, she and her family were saved. She went and lived in Israel. She ended up marrying an Israelite, and she became the grandmother, or it might be great-grandmother, of King David, in the family line running through to Jesus. How incredible. She wasn't an Israelite, but she became an Israelite in her heart through faith and the way she outworked that faith. When I was thinking about this, for some weird reason, it reminded me of, you know, those predictive text games that are all the rage on Facebook at the moment, where you type in something like, I need more, and then whatever predictive text comes up in your phone, you put it in and that's what you need. If I did it, it would come up something like, I need more people to bring me coffee, or something like that. So for some weird reason, I was thinking about this in relation to faith. We could start with a sentence like, I believe God, so I will. I will what? My challenge today is to ask yourself, I was challenged by this, to ask yourself that question. I believe God, or I have faith, so I will, ... What will you do because you have faith? What did Rahab do? She helped the spies get away. She put that cord in the window straight away because she was going to grasp that salvation that she knew was coming. So we know we have promises from God. We know we have his salvation. We know we have eternal life. What are we going to do with our faith? We're not just going to sit there and go, yeah, I believe. We have faith. What are we going to do? I believe God, so I will. Fill the gaps. This week, let's seek God and ask Him what He wants us to do with our faith. It might be something new and different. It might be something maybe you already know that God is asking you to do, but it feels a bit scary. Maybe it's just something new. Maybe it's something you need to step out in, that you know God is leading you in. Let's ask ourselves, I believe God, so I will. Have a good week.